Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Bobrow and Austin Underground. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, and I'm joined this morning by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. And tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking. Obviously, get your questions in. We'll get to as many of those as we can here in just a little bit. But first, guys, spring practice resumes today. The team back on the field here momentarily. Then the players meet with the media around 11 o'clock. Bobby, I know you got a couple of things you want to share, so I'll kick it over to you first.
Yeah, absolutely. So today, I'm being told is not supposed to be a heavy practice day. And what I mean by that is not a lot of hitting today. They're going to save it up because Saturday is going to be a scrimmage. And so get ready for that. Saturday when a lot of recruits are in town. Recruits are in town today, by the way, Jerry. You've got some news breaking on that. 4 or 5 different guys that are either offers or close to being offered by Texas or on campus. But expect today's practice, I don't want to say light, but it's not going to be one where they're full go the entire time from a physical contact perspective, because Saturday it's going to be full on. And I think the coaches are saving it up a little bit. They want everybody ready to go on Saturday.
That's right. And with this comment here from Scott, I want to go ahead and read. He says, y'all need to see the latest edition of Fresh on the 40. Coach Baker is mic'd up, and it's well worth the price of admission. The guy will motivate you. Give it a look, and we're going to do just that right now.
This is Kenny Baker.
Good morning. Good morning. Take it to the passing straight so it go to the field. Great question. 5, pick me up, 4-5. Pick me up. Good, Dre. Aiming points to damn armpit. Aiming points to the armpit. Let's go, January. Go. Good. If it ain't jet mode, I don't want it. It ain't jet mode, I don't want it. There it is. Boom. There it is. Boom. That's better, T. Right here, 3-1. Let's work right here, 3-1. Great get off. Boom. Lay it down. Nice. Good. Other side, let's work. You're hopping into the damn thing. It's you. Stick. Shoot your hands. Boom. There it is, AB. Stick. There it is. 2-gap hand placement. Your hands are down here. Get them up here. Let's go. Come on, baby.
AB, Aaron Bryant, guys.
Details. Fundamentals are the great equalizer. Let's go. There you go. Here we go. Let's go. You better attack the tip. But no damn retreat. Attack the tip. No retreat. Grind on it.
That's you. Put your face in it.
It's fatal. You lining up in the gap. I was saying move a little closer to the guard. There you go, bro. Back up a step. All I care about is you grinding the guard. There you go. I love the alignment. Grind the guard. Grind them. There it is. Stay on it. Hey, that's so much better. Just don't miss with your hands. You retreat your hands. So better footwork, but you're doing this. You got me? Throw them across the line. Let's go, Vern. Don't miss, Vern. There it is. Better right there, Bert. Come back, go again. Job one longer. Love the hands. Love the knockback. Keep. Good, right there, more.
Here we go. Go.
Oh, get them on the bus. I like them. I just keep focused on the details, man. That's what you got to do. You're already a Bentley, so I'm just trying to hit you out and put 22s on you. You understand? Try to clean you up. Any job on the cutoff, baby. I got to have it.
Good stuff, Blake. Good stuff, man. Hey, if Kenny Baker won't get you fired up in the morning, I don't know what does, Jerry Hamilton. He's definitely a different type of coach than Bo Davis. That's the first thing that kind of that comes to my mind whenever I watch that. He's a lot more, and I'm not saying better or anything like that, because everybody has their own way, but he's got a lot of energy, man. A lot of energy. Maybe a little bit like Tashard Choice in that regard, because that's reminiscent of how Tashard coaches the running backs.
I think my biggest takeaway from that, which what we talked about a little bit already, is Kenny Baker is not just coaching interior defensive alignment.
Yep.
He is a pass rush coach for the edge guys. I mean, and that was in that video. Trey Moore, Ethan Burke, one of his specialties is as a pass rush coach. When we talked to Nathan O'Neill, who trains a lot of the top guys for the NFL draft, NFL players, whatnot, defensive line coach in the Canadian League as well. He said Kenny Baker's really good in the run game, but he said he is a great pass rush coach. And Steve Sarkisian mentioned that last week, and that is already proven to be true because he's not just working out with the interior guys; he's working with the edge guys.
Hey, this was a good one. Given the name of our show here, give me a random person says, "Give me a cup of Coach Baker." I love it, dude. I love it, man. Those kind of guys, when you get energy in the morning like that, and they got 9 a.m. practices, that's good stuff, dude. Just good stuff. How good did Alex January look on that for a freshman, physically, Jerry?
Yeah,
he looked tremendous.
Yep. And by the way, it kind of Trey Moore also. I mean, kind of falls in lines with what you've been saying about Trey Moore for a month now.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, Jerry, tell us a little bit about some recruits that are coming on campus today. There's one from Mater Dei, a receiver, et cetera. Give people a taste of what's going on recruiting-wise right now.
Yeah, there's 3 guys we really want to focus on this morning. Obviously, Marcus Harris, the wide receiver from Mater Dei, teammate of Jordan Davis, and high school teammate as well of Brandon Baker and Spencer Shannon. He's on campus this morning, got into Austin last night. Is on campus this morning. Went through the position meetings with Chris Jackson at wide receiver. We'll be out at the spring practice this morning, spend the day with Texas, the staff, and the team. So he will also be back June 21st through 23rd for an official visit. He's got Alabama and Tennessee visits as well. Just one of those handful 6'7" receivers that Texas is really, really considering in this 25 cycle. A little different than some other guys, maybe not as explosive of an athlete as obviously as the Decory Moores, Kelshawn Johnsons, those guys have in this class, but a solid route runner. He kind of has a gear to go get the football for a bigger receiver. He's got some size to him, got good length to him. He's quicker than fast, I would say. Right there, you see the quickness over the speed. On that one play, you could see why he's quicker than fast. Quick getting into the route, into the move. Doesn't really have that long speed like some other guys have, but really good player. Catches the ball away from his body, solid hands, long arms. So he'll be in today, come back June 21st through 23rd for an official visit. And that SoCal pipeline's important. So he's
same high school as Chris Jackson.
Yeah, same high school as Chris Jackson, Jordan Davison in the 25 class, obviously. And one of the, it's a top 3-4 talented high school in the country. I mean, there's no other way. And the Cedar White's big time out of there this year. 2026 Edge, Sean Scott, who Texas is all over. There's a number of guys at Mater Dei. I mean, they have 20-plus Division I players in that program, sophomore through senior class. They're that talented down there in Orange County area. So he's on campus. Then Jonathan Cunningham, linebacker from North Crowley. And obviously we're going to be talking about another linebacker from North Crowley coming up. But Jonathan Cunningham, 2025 linebacker from North Crowley. He's a guy who, I'm a big fan of his. I think he's an instinctive linebacker, long-arm kid. You'll see him. He can really close on the football. He's got really good instincts now. He's going to be – his best football's way out in front of him. He's 6'2.5", about 190. But he has so many things you can't coach, and one of those is instincts for the position. He can make all the calls. He's a smart linebacker. Talking with Ray Gates, the head coach there at North Crowley, about him. Also, I was there to see John Turntine and Crowley earlier this year. John Turntine, obviously one of the top 26 guys in America, if not the top prospect in Texas, period. But Jonathan Cunningham has an offer from Texas. Texas invited him down today. So the next key there will be, does Texas set him up for a June official visit? I know Texas likes Jonathan Cunningham quite a bit. So one, we're monitoring for an official visit possibility, especially with Anthony Williams no longer being in the class and Matea Tegoa is committed to USC. Texas will keep trying on him. But this is a guy that Texas really liked. Johnny Nance was through in January, got the ball rolling there, and then Sark and Tashard Choice stopped by and officially offered him later in January. So linebacker from one of the most talented programs up in DFW right now, North Crowley, very talented. Turntine, the quarterback's committed to TCU as a slot receiver. They have 10-plus Division I players in their program based on my visit up there a few weeks ago. And the third guy I want to talk about is Jackson Blackwell, defensive lineman from Lorena, Texas. Could also be a hellacious offensive line prospect, but he wants to play D-line. 6'2.5", about 3'11". I watched him in the district meet throw the discus a couple weeks ago. I went to Cameron Yo, shout out to Billy Pittman, hometown of Billy Pittman, and I went and watched him throw the discus a little bit. A really good athlete. He ran a 4.6 laser shuttle at the Under Armour camp in Dallas, which really took off his recruitment, his movement skills at 6'2.5", 311. He also just squatted 700 pounds at the state powerlifting meet. I mean, he is a very, very strong player. A guy Texas has taken a serious look at. There's the War Daddy D-line guys that we always talk about. Then there's some of these late riser guys that Texas, Kitty Baker, going to get out and evaluate here when the spring evaluation period begins. But Jackson Blackwell, a name to know that Texas is going to take a serious look at because he's got strength, he's got quickness, he's a barrel-chested kid, big hands. He's got official visits to Arizona, Baylor. He was just at TCU, SMU. But that offer list, I think, is going to double in May.
You mentioned we need to talk about another linebacker from North Crowley. Guys, I'm going to let you tell folks out there in case they missed that news yesterday. Obviously, big news, but can you give the latest on that?
Yeah, I can. I just want to read the statement on Samaj Burrell, the linebacker out of North Crowley, redshirt freshman, did not play this year. He was allegedly the person driving the car that rear-ended Tavondre Sweat, causing Sweat's vehicle to flip. While Sweat was arrested with a DUI, Burrell actually did something that's not so smart. He fled the scene and was found out to be the driver, or is allegedly the driver. I don't have a exact statement from Samaj or his family at this point, or his representative at this point. But Steve Sarkisian, Texas head football coach, did have something to say about it. Last night, he issued this statement. We're aware of the situation involving Samaj Burrell and have suspended him indefinitely from all team activities for conduct detrimental to the program. Look, not a good thing for Samaj. We've had him on this program before when he was a young recruit, Jerry. He's a good kid, but as I wrote this morning, good people make bad decisions at times, and it's unfortunate. And the thing that I would say is how, things can be going along great, and then all of a sudden one thing happens and, the whole world gets turned upside down. You got to remember, these coaches are managing not just 85 players on a field. They're also trying to manage 18 to 22-year-olds off the field, and that's hard. And one of the things that Steve Sarkisian has done is actually keep the train on the tracks really, really good. But it doesn't take much. It just takes one issue to derail it. And this is a good reminder to all. Unfortunately, Samaj, I think not only off the team, we're hearing that he may be kicked off the team, not just suspended indefinitely.
Yeah.
And so, it's tough when you hear about somebody like that, especially someone you root for. But things like this have repercussions.
And we by the way, we were told Saturday he is planning to enter the portal as well. Look, and I've said this before, and this prior to the event, there's going to be good players that leave the Texas program that are going to go on and be really good players at other places. That's what happens when you recruit 3 straight top 5 classes and are blue blood in the portal and have built up the talent of the program. There's going to be guys that leave this program that go on and be really good players other places. And that's a testament to the evaluation of this staff, honestly. And that's just part of the game when you have the depth Texas has. So that we had heard that Samaj was going to enter the portal anyway as of Saturday. So that was going to happen April 16th, but very unfortunate. And we do believe he's been removed from the team at this point in time. I'll also say this, and it's bad that we're talking about this with a kid, Samaj Burrell, but this is probably going to be one of those things you look back on and say, okay, for the remainder of the team, probably a positive thing going into the summer after spring football's over, where these guys have a little bit more time on their hands, maybe where they travel a little bit more, they're off campus. This was a pretty much a team decision as well, from what I was heard. So from what I heard, so this is a kind of a Bobby called a wake up call or just a friendly reminder to the guys, all right, y'all are about to have more free time. You have a lot in front of you. And a lot of you guys have a lot of great things in front of you, and handle your business. And as a couple of people said, as a couple of players said, that being out at 4 a.m. is not generally going to end well.
What good happens, right?
Look,
Hey, don't screw it up. Is a lot of these, Jerry, to your point, a lot of these guys have NFL potential. A lot of them. I mean, we talked about it. Was it 30 plus? We think,
yeah,
on the Texas roster right now.
And think about how much money Sweat just lost. By the way, guys,
don't screw it up. That's that. If there is a sign that needs to be hung over some of these guys' doors, that's what it needs to be. Go do your work. Just do your job, and don't screw it up. We do wish Samaj the best. I'm sure he'll rebound. Thankfully, nothing more serious occurred during the accident as well. Hey, we need to say thank you to our sponsor each and every Thursday morning, Coffee and Football, brought to you by our friends at Austin Underground. Rick Vavro and his team has specialized in difficult underground commercial installations since 2004. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider just too risky. Rick and his team offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. That's Austin Underground. If you have a big project coming up and need to look, you need to look no further than the folks at Austin Underground. Rick Volvo and his team, we appreciate your sponsorship of Thursday mornings Coffee and Football.
All right. Well, we got a lot of questions rolling in and plenty of time to get your questions in, so please do so. Now, let's start with some recruiting questions here. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Let's start with the super chat. I missed it. From Jay Lee. Thank you, Jay Lee, for the super chat. He says, am I wrong feeling I can make the argument linebacker is our biggest portal need? If anything happens to Hill, we have David Benda and then a bunch of unproven guys.
Well, I mean, the health of Hill certainly would be a detriment to the team, no matter who you could get in the portal. I want to put it that way. But you got to remember, Mo Blackwell has a lot of experience. Leonga Lafau, they are really, really high on. Darian Gillette his name has been mentioned a couple times, including by David Benda this off season. So they're not. I don't think they're as thin there maybe as you do. They've got 3 guys coming back with significant time on the field in Benda, Hill, and Blackwell. There's probably not 25 other teams in the country that have that many snaps coming back at line. I don't know what the number is, but my point being, they've got significant snaps there. The question is, do they have any difference makers out there other than Hill? So if there's a difference maker linebacker out there, Jay, I agree with you. If there's not, I don't necessarily.
So what would you say is the biggest portal need?
Oh,
defensive tackle. Well, any other positions besides defensive tackle?
Hunter.
Yeah, no doubt. Jerry's right, by the way. I've heard that they've identified a punter that's expected to go in the portal or is already in there, but I don't know who it is. We'll see if it actually comes to pass as well, because you know what? Once they get Michael Kern on, we don't know about how well Ratliff's punted in practice per se. There could be a number of different pieces to this that ebb and flow, and how many players actually leave the program, and if there's another spot. I do still think I want to mention this. Also, yesterday, Bear Alexander came out yesterday afternoon and said he is staying at USC. That was one day after he and his representatives told people he was leaving USC. Did USC up the ante? Maybe. Did Bear just being Bear Alexander? Maybe. Or yes. All of those things combined. But still, I'm just telling you, if April 15th or April 16th comes along and he enters the portal, watch out. I've seen crazier things. I mean, look, Chris Jackson told everybody, I'm not going anywhere, and ended up being the wide receivers coach at Texas 2 weeks later. So players aren't any different than coaches. I mean, Nick Saban did that at Miami. I mean, we'll see what happens.
I'll say this on Bear. For him, I hope he stays at USC. I mean, this guy's been to 4 or 5 high schools in 4 years of high school. He was at Georgia and was part of a national championship team and left to go to USC. And I think it would be good for him to be somewhere 2 years in a row, just for him. It's nothing with that. I've covered that recruitment surprises me, honestly. I think some people picked up on that yesterday. But actually, for his sake, I hope the guy stays and plays 2 years at the same spot. Because when NFL time comes around for him, those guys are going to look at him and say, "Whoa, why were you somewhere every year? Why did you not stay in one place 2 years in a row in an 8-year period?" He needs to stay there and play some more 2 years in a row. I mean, and look, it's the NIL day and age. I get it, but the guys.
Hey, Jerry, I want to say this. That's one of the things that makes you a little bit different than a lot of people. You actually come out and say this kid needs to be somewhere consistently.
Yeah,
a lot of people say, "Oh no, go to Texas, go there." Go, I think people appreciate the sincerity of that because you're looking out for what you think might be the best interest of the kid.
Well, look, I mean, when you've been pulled in so many different directions for so long, I mean, he's had zero chance to have any consistency. I mean, just 2 years is a big deal. I mean, of consistency at this point for him. If he stays, I think it's actually a very good thing for him versus 7 schools in 7 years. I don't think the NFL is going to look at that favorably, guys. I just don't. And no matter how talented you are.
What would a 3-year contract look like to him? That'd be like an eternity.
Yeah. Here's the other thing too about the portal, and I'm gonna keep harping on this. Y'all are gonna hate for me to keep saying this, but because we're 5 days away from April 16th. But when guys go in the portal, to me, the one thing to look for and the one thing I'm really looking for is, do you check a no contact box? If you do that, you know where you're going. So game on. If you don't, negotiation on. So that's the one thing I'm looking at in the portal. If you jump into the portal, if it's one of the guys we've talked about here, or has been talked about, a lot of conjecture out there, and that guy jumps into the portal and he doesn't check the no contact box, then nothing's a done deal. I'll say that.
Hey, Jerry, I want to mention one other thing that while we were watching film earlier of all the recruits that are on campus today, Jonathan Cunningham's film looks really, really good.
He's a really good football player, guys.
Yeah. He looked quick, athletic, smart. Kind of when he saw the ball, he went. Yeah. There was some suddenness to him, I think is the best way to put that.
Yep.
All right, we're going to move on now to some recruiting questions with Super Chat out of the way. Living rent free in UT says, is Malik Autry still coming in this weekend? Jerry?
Yeah, we're going to double check on that. The thing is that changed late last week. So we're going to check on that today with it being Thursday. I didn't want to check on Tuesday because Tuesday's answer could be different than Thursday's answer. So we're going to double check on that today. We'll have an answer on ontexasfootball.com today at some point.
And then our next question comes from King Me. He says, Jerry, are there any hidden gems that you're going to go see in May that we should know about?
Yeah, so look, I'm a big fan of a kid, Derry Norris. You might pull that huddle up, Blake, if you got a second. Derry Norris at Spruce Creek, a defensive lineman. Look, I love 3-star defensive linemen from Florida that run track, okay? Because the state of Florida produces more 3-stars that don't have the same setup in high school football as a Texas or Georgia. Just big athletes. That when they get to the college campus, they just blow up. And there's a kid, Derry Norris, that Texas will go take a look at. And you can see him here. He runs on the 4x100 meter team. I mean, look, it's not Duncanville speed, right? I'm not saying that. But this guy's a really good athlete. Miami scheduled him June 7th through 9th for an official visit. Texas offered him a few weeks ago. He's one of those guys that Kenny Baker is going to go out and evaluate. That was Central Florida area to Shard Choice, obviously. Recruits that area. But look, this guy can really move. He's 6'3.5", about 270. Hasn't really even scratched the surface yet. Obviously, technique-wise, a lot he can improve on. But that's why you like guys with length and with this frame and with that athleticism that a Derry Norris has. So he's one guy in Florida I'm watching. We mentioned Jackson Blackwell. You know, I mean, one of the big guys Texas offered and moved fast was Aiden Anding. I mean, Aiden Anding, the corner out of Ruston, Texas did good getting him on campus and getting him set up for an official visit, because I really believe, even though Texas has offered him, when the spring evaluation period starts in May, I think his offers are going to double, and I think you're going to see a lot more SEC offers come his way. So it was really good that Texas got in on him when they offered him. Terry Joseph, good identification, offered him. Sark got on the phone immediately last Monday with him after offering March 28th. He went to Miami that weekend when Texas offered him. And then Texas got him on campus with his mom and brother on April 6th. And then the official visit got set up June 21st, 23rd. So Texas gets the last crack at that with an official visit. I thought that was one of those kids. There will be a couple other kids pop up. I think probably on the edge position, defensive front position. Offensive line's pretty established in this class as far as Texas. But that's one guy. There's Derry Norris. There's a Jarquez Carter, a D lineman out of Newberry, Florida. The state of Florida, state of Georgia's really got a lot of D linemen in this 25 cycle. So there'll be a couple of guys we're keeping an eye on. I'll probably go see some of those guys in May as well.
All right. And then our next.
Wait. Blake, I want to have Jerry, you had Bo Barnes on, Elijah Bo Barnes on last night. The linebacker out of Dallas Skyline. As we're talking about all these recruits, y'all had him on the live stream last night. Anything particularly interesting come out of that conversation with him that you can share with folks?
No, not really anything, or groundbreaking with Bo, just other than he's awesome. Elijah Barnes is, and I saw it when I went to Skyline a few weeks ago. You heard it, but then I went and watched the track practice, right? And the whole track practice, I was talking with his head coach and just really learning about Elijah Bo Barnes, a four-star linebacker out of Skyline. But look, I mean, he's a thinker. He's got a great frame. I mean, it's one thing to be closing on 6'3", 230 and run 10.96 in the 100, right? I mean, you see all that, the long arms, the big hands, the tape, playing running back and linebacker. But he's a very mature kid. Very mature kid. The way he goes about the recruiting process, the way he goes about football, the way he goes about whatever it is he does, track. I mean, a guy that does the extracurriculars with school. So he's a well-rounded student athlete happens to be one of the best linebackers in the country. So I think there's a reason. I think Texas is zeroed in on one of the very best linebackers in the country. Helps he's from Dallas Skyline, but I think that this guy, whatever program he ends up at, and I think Texas is in a good spot. Wherever he ends up, he is going to be a guy people put in front of a microphone as he gets older. I think he's that level guy.
And then let's take this question here from Cinco de Mayo. He says, Jerry, have you heard anything regarding offensive line prospect Drew Evers out of Flower Mound?
Yeah, Drew Evers, obviously his brother was a highly regarded quarterback a couple of years ago out of Flower Mound High. Drew Evers has a Texas offer. He's been on campus, I think, a couple of times, maybe once during the season and for the January 20 junior day, even though he's a 26 kid. Really solid prospect, a guy that Texas likes a lot. They're going to have a lot of those 26 offensive linemen on campus this weekend to watch the Texas scrimmage Saturday. But he's one of the guys that's been offered. He's one of the guys that Texas is keeping tabs on, and very talented offensive lineman. The biggest of the family, by the way. I think both parents graduated from Texas A&M. He's the biggest kid in the family to date. Obviously, his brother was a pretty good quarterback prospect coming out of Flower Mound a couple of years ago.
And Jamison Washington wants to know, is Jonah Williams setting an official visit to Texas?
Yeah, I think he's going to officially visit Texas. As of Monday, he only had Oregon locked in, but he's obviously going to visit Oklahoma officially. I think he'll visit Texas officially, maybe Ohio State as well. We'll see. But I do expect those official visits to come out in the next week or so. I think there's a high probability he makes an official visit to Texas, barring a change from Saturday.
All right, Jerry. Well, if you are ready, we're going to let you tell folks out there about the good folks at Gooder.
Yeah, look, guys, I mean, these Gooders, they're taking off. We talk about it every day. I'm going to put them on, man. I feel that sun. I'm about to go outside and get a little exercise when we get done here. But look, these are 100% polarized. and only $25. I mean, they're sturdy on your face, no slip, no bounce, all polarized, and definitely all fun. And that's what we're all about, all right? 50,000 plus 5-star reviews. I think that number, we're in 2 years, we'll be reading this read. It'll be 75,000 plus 5-star reviews. And I might put in 25,000 at this point. But look, there's a 30-day free return, which you absolutely will not need. You don't need a money back guarantee with this, but they're going to offer it anyways to be nice, and 100% satisfaction, which I have 110% satisfaction. And these, again, they're made for medium-sized noggins. That's the only bad news I got. Leonard Davis, Cameron Williams. There's a few guys that can't wear the Gooders, but I'm sure they'd specially make some for the NFL guys. But check out the new Pop G Styles, Vanguard Visionary, New Wave Renegade, Born to be Envied, Pop Art Prodigy, the Mod one out and approaching cult status. I mean, are these made for On Texas Football or what? Guys, if you want to support the show and try a pair, Gooder is giving the On Texas Football listeners free shipping. You can go to gooder.com/On Texas, all caps. Use that code On Texas, all caps, for free shipping. Again, Gooder's going to offer you a 30-day money back guarantee. I guarantee you won't need that. And 100% satisfaction, which I can guarantee you'll have. Again, that's gooder.com/On Texas.
Okay, guys. Well, we'll circle back to recruiting here in a little bit, but let's switch gears here. And we got a lot of team-related questions. And we're going to start with the super chat from Longhorn Football Edits. He says, y'all have any practice nuggets on Kobe Black? I'm also looking forward to seeing what Santana can do. The defensive back room has some good depth. And thank you, Longhorn Football Edits, for the super chat.
Yeah, Kobe, this is good question, by the way. Kobe moved into the second team role when Manny Muhammad went down and was out for a little bit during spring ball. Kobe actually over Wardell Mack, by the way. Mack, the other freshman corner. More than that, I don't have. I know he's working special teams as well. But right now, the top corners are Manny Muhammad and Terrence Brooks, as expected, right? And then you have Gavin Holmes as 3. And then after that, it's Wardell Mack and Kobe Black. And Black is the one they moved up. I will add that Jahdae Barron has worked some at corner this spring, but maybe not as much as he would have thought. Because I think he really wanted to work the corner. I just don't think he's a corner. And so they're cross-training, but it's not over the top, an over-top level, right, to do that. So keep that in mind. Of course, Santana Wilson, the other person you asked about, is set to arrive in late May. He will get a chance at corner. But I think that there could be some movement at nickel as it relates to the portal. And I would not be surprised to see either Santana Wilson or Wardell Mack in the fall moved to nickel as depth and learning a position. So keep that in mind. Hey, by the way, I'm jealous a little bit. I'm not a big golf guy. All right. But I see like 3 or 4 people that are checking in from Augusta National.
Love it.
That's like, I will say that is a little bit of a bucket list sporting event for me. I just want to pay $3 for a pimento cheese sandwich. You can't pay $3 for anything anymore these days.
I love all the picks. People are getting into the picks for, I think they're about to tee off at 9, or maybe they just did. I know it got pushed back because of that weather system that came through Houston and eventually along I-10 yesterday. But I think the worst of that weather moved south of Augusta, backed up tee times a little bit there. This is it's a great weekend for golf fans, man, sports fans in general. If you whether you like Tiger Woods or not, and he's one of those guys polarizing sports figures. I happen to love the guy's competitiveness and what he's done. I think he's about as good at what he did as anybody in golf in their sport. But there's going to be some specials on the 2019 Masters. One on Golf Channel already aired and one on CBS. They're going to be worth the watch.
Hey, Jerry, let me ask you this about going back to that nickel spot. Who do you think would be better situated for that? Santana Wilson or Wardell Mack, based on what you saw in high school?
I think probably Wardell Mack, because some schools recruiting him all over the secondary. Some people liked him at safety, some liked them at corner, some liked them at nickel. I think everybody really liked Santana Wilson as a corner. through the recruiting process. So I think that's kind of where I come out. Somebody asked about Jordan Johnson-Rebel. I think he's a safety that maybe could play the nickel position. But I think Jordan Johnson-Rebel is so natural at safety. He's a guy that can make your calls. He can play in the box. He can play off the ball. I tend to like Jordan Johnson-Rebel at safety long term.
And I want to go back to that super chat real quick from Longhorn Football Edits. We got to give him a shout out. He does some graphic work for us occasionally and does an amazing job. Y'all look him up if you're in need of some graphic work done. All right, guys. The next question here from Marco Mendez. Do you all know how Colin Simmons and Trey Moore have done against Banks in practice?
We're going to replay that video from earlier today. By the way, UT put up some video of Kenny Baker coaching up the defensive line in practice. I will say this: Trey Moore is doing okay against everybody, is what I'm being told. So not specifically against Banks and Williams. I'm just telling you. I'm being told Trey Moore is one of the better players on the team.
Yep.
So that means he's winning more than his fair share, or at least his fair share against a top 10, top 20 pick, whatever Kelvin Banks ends up being after this year. As far as Colin Simmons, Jerry has mentioned this a couple times. He had a pair of sacks in Saturday's scrimmage, according to a couple different people. Steve Sarkisian then mentioned him on Tuesday as having a good practice. Look, there are the defensive end room is better off today than it's been since Sarkisian's been in Austin. There is no doubt about that. I think they finally got some guys that can get after the quarterback in addition to the ones they already had. So I want to say that. I saw something in the chat we need to go back to too, Jerry. Some people saying, "Hey, is Jahdae Barron getting passed up at nickel, and that's why he's working at corner?" That's not necessarily the case. I will say this: Jalen Gilbo may have more top end talent than Jahdae Barron, and I'm talking about a 3-year starter at Texas, because Gilbo is a little bit different, but at the same time, he doesn't have Barron's experience. We'll see if he's as strong. Jerry, I guess is the best way to put it, in game prep, because one of the things Barron does really well is get in the film room. But I don't think that Barron's in danger of losing his job. I think he's going to be tested, though. So that's a reality.
And our next question comes from Westlake Longhorn, so no surprise he's asking this question. But how are Burke and Vosick looking?
Burke has been doing really well of late, and I've heard Vosick is okay. I haven't heard much about Vosick in about a week and a half, Jerry. So I would to say something right now. I haven't heard anything new. I have heard Ethan Burke is still working Ethan Burke's working at both ends. So not just Jack, but he played Buck last year. He's also working at Jack now too. So he's getting cross-trained. Beyond that, I haven't heard if he's like playing great or that sort of stuff. But he's still expected to be a starter.
And then Shake and Bake says, "Good morning from Edinburgh. How is it going with the coach-player helmet Edinburgh? Coach-player helmet communication. Who are the green dots?"
So that's been brought up by Anthony Hill in a recent press conference, and we'll see we'll see who Sark sends to the mic today after practice. See if there's any update on that. But obviously, the quarterbacks and Sark have been using it this spring. Anthony Hill said last week, I believe it was, that no defensive players have used it yet. So I think that is an interesting piece. And I really think this spring is for the quarterbacks and Sark communication with that, to really get game ready with that, get ahead of the curve on that. I think defensively, and Sark has mentioned this in a press conference, it could be a linebacker, could be a Jahdae Barron, a nickel. I think they're kind of working through that right now. And building that out as a staff, but we'll see who Sark sends to the mic today. See if there's an update on that. But as of when Anthony Hill met with the media last week, I believe that was, he said that no defensive player had worn it yet.
Yeah, I will say this. Sark also talked on Tuesday, Jerry. He said that right now they don't have enough equipment for the headset thing, because they hadn't planned on it because it hadn't been approved.
Right.
And so they're just using what they have, and they've been working mostly with the offense on that. It'll change. He said they were going to start working with the defense on it in the last 2 weeks of practice.
Hey guys, we're going to talk about the quarterbacks here for a minute. And let's start with this one from Wallace. Good morning from Lake Travis. How much will Arch Manning play this season?
I think he's going to play quite a bit. I mean, I'm not wishing it on Quinn, but Quinn's got to get through a season healthy, first of all. Knock on wood, because I do think he's the best option at Texas at quarterback without question. But I mean, ultimately, I think Arch is going to play quite a bit. I mean, will he throw more than 50 passes? I don't know. But I think that's probably a good number for him. If I'm not, one start maybe because of a slight injury to Quinn, maybe 3 or 4 true good mop-up opportunities. We'll see.
You mentioned Quinn, so we got to discuss him. Ivory Martin says, how is Quinn looking getting through his reads? Are his feet still erratic when he gets the third and the fourth read?
I haven't. I'd be lying to you here, Ivory. I haven't seen enough of it. The thing that I would say is that he certainly knows the offense as well or better than he's ever known it. And that typically helps your feet, right? If you're not scared of what comes next and you know what comes next, your body follows. I think a lot of that, and look, he did not play as under duress at South Lake Carroll as he did at Texas. That's just, it doesn't happen there, right? And so I think that's one of the last things that's going to come for him. But I do believe his knowledge of the offense has helped. And I think he got better as the year wore on last year. You got to remember that. I mean, he is still a young quarterback, relatively speaking. I don't think he's 21 years old yet, Jerry. So keep that in mind, guys.
And then let's jump over to wide receivers. Tyler wants to know about DeAndre Moore. If you have any new updates, and is he taking more steps forward?
Nothing new, earth-shattering, groundbreaking there at all. I think he's such a smooth route runner. I think sometimes because he's not the wow play guy, you may not hear as much about. But I think DeAndre Moore is a steady receiver. What does that mean moving forward? I can't say for sure, but I do think he's a guy that's consistent, and coaches are looking for consistency above all else when talent's close to being neutralized. And I think DeAndre Moore's got a consistency about him as a route runner, as a receiver, and he's one of those guys that has the trust of a quarterback because they know he's always going to be where he's supposed to be.
And then we have a super chat from Football Junkie. He said, let's talk about the third down NASCAR package on defense. Give us your lineup.
Man, NASCAR package. Do you move a guy like Barron Sorrell inside in that right now? Or do you keep a guy like Jere Bledsoe on the field, Jerry, on the interior?
Yeah, I think it all is going to depend on who you're playing.
Yeah, probably. I
think that's a game plan thing. I mean, look, if you're playing Georgia, probably not. Probably not. If you're playing Michigan, probably not. But if you're playing, I think there's times, I think there's matchups for Texas where they can do that. The interesting thing to me is how much we're going to see of Sorrell, Burke, and Trey Moore or Colin Simmons on the field at the same time. I think that may end up being more than we originally thought.
I would love to see more Burke and Bledsoe on the field at the same time in that package. Now, what that looks like, I'm not quite sure. Blackwell obviously would be a good one. David Benda is a good pass rusher, actually.
Yes.
Anthony Hill. There's a lot of different. I mean, look, I think Texas will get more quarterback. Will get the quarterback on the ground more this year than they have in the previous 3 years under PK. But to Jerry's point, you don't want to give up. I mean, it was very hilarious. We had the Jeff Reardon, the head coach at Tyler Chapel Hill, on right, Jerry, earlier this week, and he said 3rd and 15, and I'm sitting here, my running back's averaging 13 yards a carry. I'm just going to hand it to him, you know. So in the SEC, you might see more delayed runs like that. They're more willing to kick and play defense than Texas Tech, for example, in the Big 12. So you can't necessarily do that as much in the SEC as you would in the Big 12.
We've had a few questions, Blake, real quick on potential wide receivers to the portal. Look, I think somebody will jump in the portal at the wide receiver position. This is a guarantee no, but I would be surprised if there's not one.
Okay, well, before we move on, Bobby, can you tell folks out there about the good folks at Autograph?
Yeah, I've got to say a special offer here. We're all pumped for the big game in Ann Arbor this coming fall. Would you like the chance to win $4 tickets to the Big House for the game against Michigan in honor of the University of Texas 4 national championships, hopefully 5 in 2024? These tickets are retailing for $600 up. So listen up. Our partner Autograph is dropping a pair of tickets on April 18th at 2 p.m. Central in their app. All you need to do is download the app and refer one friend successfully from Wednesday, April 3rd to Thursday, April 18th at 11 Central to be eligible. For those that are new, Autograph is where real Longhorn fans get unreal rewards by bringing fan content and communities into one place. Autograph is the first app that recognizes and rewards fans, turning their passion into access and experiences. Scan to download the free Autograph app in the Apple App Store and use referral code ONTEXAS. That's referral code ONTEXAS. Join us and see where your fandom takes you. Hopefully Ann Arbor this fall for $4 a ticket. I want to be clear. It's a drawing for $4 a ticket. Not everybody that enters gets a $4 ticket. But anyways, thanks to Autograph for being a sponsor of Coffee and Football. It is a good program, and it is a good app that gives you a chance to win specials on tickets, etc., as well as see some additional content.
And we want to thank them for sponsoring today. All right, guys. Somebody else we need to thank is Jay Lee once again, because he gave us another super chat. It says this: if everything else is equal between two kids, does Texas prioritize the kid that will be an early enrollee?
In some cases, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, again, 17 of 21 or 18 to 22, whatever it is, that number is, we're early enrollees in the class. I think we're headed to an area where 70% of kids are early enrollees. It makes total sense for spring practice. It made sense for spring practice before NIL. Now it really makes sense that you just get the ball rolling, get moving towards all that. But I think if it comes down to it, then yes, that decision has been made before. Because also what goes with that is, and not saying it means a kid that isn't football invested, but if you ever have a scenario where you have two guys at the same position and you talked about those guys, one guy's an early enrollee, the other guy's more focused on other sports at times, but is a tremendous football player, colleges will make that move towards the guy they may feel like is a little more football invested, because not all the top football prospects are 100% invested in football. They're really good multiple sport athletes. And some of them still have decisions to make. So, but I think in general, if it's an early enrollee versus a guy that's going to go through high school through May, if that talent is neutralized, I think a lot of times teams will move to the early enrollee.
All right, we have a question here from Twitter, guys, from eDiggs808. He says, where are we on Smith the Rogboat?
I think Texas can win that one with a June push. Really talented kid. Frame hasn't even really begun to develop. About 6'4.5", 220. Was on campus last weekend with a couple of members of the Hastings coaching staff, as well as his teammate Ike Okafor, 6'3", 260-pound, 5 technique, who has official visits to Cal, Arizona State. But I think Texas will be well positioned with Smith the Rogboat. Will come down to that June push. He's scheduled to visit June 14th through 16th. Same weekend. That's going to be the Edge weekend. I mean, that's when Lance Jackson, Texas commitment, will officially visit, and that's when Hayden Lowe out of Oaks Christian scheduled to visit. The 4th Edge as official visit schedule is Damian Shanklin, June 21st through 23rd, but he's a big Notre Dame lean at this point. So the 3 guys June 14th, 16th to watch the most. Obviously, Lance Jackson's committed. I have an update on him as well. He sprained an AC joint, just something that needs some rest at the Under Armour camp in Houston when he was out dominating everybody. So that's knocked him off the mound for a few weeks. He's 2 weeks away, I think, from throwing again on the mound. So somebody asked about that with Lance Jackson the other day. That's the update there. Just going extra slow with that. Just a little sprain of an AC joint, nothing major, but it has kept him off the mound for the last half of the baseball season. But he will be back. Pleasant Grove is one of the top picks to win the state title in baseball in their classification. He closed out 3 games and had 1 start this year prior to injury. So a couple of weeks away from being on the mound again. And he was pumping it up there about 93 to 95 all year.
Okay, guys, well, we've had a lot of people join us since we first started the show. So let's reset here and talk about the news of the day. Obviously, the players meet with the media at 11. Spring practice resumes today. And Bobby, I know you wanted to show folks out there once again this Kenny Baker video, so we'll start with that if that's all right.
Yeah, the university put out a nice video yesterday of Kenny Baker, the Longhorns defensive line coach. It shows some video of the players running through drills, but here he is mic'd up. It gives you a sense. I think that what the really good part of it for people who haven't talked to Kenny Baker or met him before, it gives you a sense of how he coaches players. Just listen up. It's about a 2-minute video here that we'll run through. Go ahead, Blake.
Good morning. Good morning. Take it to the passing strength so it go to the field. Great question. 5, pick me up, 4-5. Pick me up. Ooh. Good, Dre. Aiming points to damn armpit. Aiming points to the armpit. Let's go, January. Go. Ooh. Good. If it ain't jet mode, I don't want it. It ain't jet mode, I don't want it. There it is. Boom. Boom. There it is. Boom. That's better, T. Right here, 3-1. Let's work right here, 3-1. Great get off. Boom. Lay it down. Nice. Good. Other side, let's work. You hopping into the damn thing. It's you. Stick. Shoot your hands. Shoot your hands. Boom. There it is, AB. Stick. There it is. 2-gap hand placement. Your hands are down here. Get them up here. Let's go. Come on, baby. Details. Fundamentals are the great equalizer. Let's go. There you go. Here we go. Let's go. You better attack the tip with no damn retreat. Attack the tip. No retreat. Grind on it.
That's you. Put your face in it.
It's fatal. You lining up in the gap. I was saying move a little closer to the guard. There you go, bro. Back up a step. All I care about is you grinding the guard. There you go. I love the alignment. Grind the guard. Grind them. There it is. Stay on it. Hey, that's so much better. Just don't miss with your hands. You retreat your hands. So better footwork, but you're doing this. You got me? Throw them across the line. Let's go, Vern. Don't miss, Vern. There it is. Better right there, Bert. Come back, go again. Job one longer. Love the hands. Love the knockback. Hit. Good, right there, more.
Here we go. Go.
Oh, get them on the bus. I like them. I just keep focused on the details, man. That's what you got to do. You're already a Bentley, so I'm just trying to hit you out and put 22s on you. You understand? Trying to clean you up. Any job on the cutoff, baby. I got to have it.
Good stuff there, Jerry. I'd love to see the enthusiasm out of the new defensive line coach at the University of Texas.
Yeah, so I got the biggest takeaway there outside just hearing Kenny Baker's voice and watching him coach for a couple of minutes there was he's working pass rush with the edge guys. And we had talked about that when he was hired here. A good friend of our show, Nathan O'Neill, for those that haven't heard, he trains a lot of the best D linemen for the NFL draft. And, he's worked with Clowney, the Bosa's, all these guys as pros. But he knows Kenny Baker really well. And when Kenny Baker was hired, I reached out to Nate. I said, what do you think of Kenny Baker? He said, great pass rush coach. He said, really good in the run game. Pete Jenkins guy, just like Bo, tremendous in the run game. He said, great pass rush coach, great young pass rush coach. And that's obviously coming to fruition because he's not just working with the interior D-line guys. He's working with the edge guys.
Yeah, you saw him there with Burke, with Trey Moore, with Colin Simmons, all of those guys. Dre Bledsoe looked good. So did Alex January in that video as well. Two young guys that Longhorns hopefully can rely on a little bit this year. A little bit. David Keith Williams, Alex January moves very well for a 320-pound defensive tackle. I agree. The question is he going to be physically ready? Despite his weight, is he going to be physically ready? I hope so, because it's going to be interesting what Texas does in the portal at defensive tackle coming up in just 5 days now. So interesting.
All right. Todd Lacey wants to know, how big of a crowd is expected at the orange and white game?
I don't know. Usually 30 to 40,000 would be a guess. It all depends on the weather a little bit too, by the way. But make sure they came out with a note yesterday about the actual what's going to be going on pregame. There'll be an autograph session. There's going to be Bevo Boulevard up and running. Jerry and I will be down at Victory Lap, which is just off West Campus, across from the Castilian. If you're familiar with the area, we'll be there from 11 to 12 and then walking over to the stadium doing our pregame show. It's got a bunch of festivities. Chris Del Conte has done a tremendous job, in my opinion, guys, of making game day a special opportunity for folks. And I hope everybody's able to make it down there. Come out and hang out with us. If you get a chance, walk over to the stadium, etc. It should be a lot of fun.
And we had somebody ask earlier this week, guys, about the Team Shop fire sale. If we knew the details, it was, as Bobby said, announced yesterday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Enter gates 28D on the east side of DKR. And there you go. Then the autographs start at 9 a.m. And my 11-year-old already told me that we're going to be in that line. So guess I'll be there.
I saw Blake in that line last year.
Oh, I know. I wasn't too enthused. That was a lot of people. But that's all right. If it makes you happy, that's all right.
By the way, weather should be great. Right now, weather forecast is low of 58, high of 74 on April 20th. Partly cloudy. It doesn't get much better than that. So with knowing that, I'll go with 45,000. I'm going big. I'm going big this spring. But it's a lot of it's up to the 2,000-3,000 people on this chat. You and your friends got to go. But by the way, somebody asked about red shirts for Christian Clark and Jarrett Gibson. I go no on that. I think these guys are all going to play. And look, I was told again, was either Monday or Tuesday, I've lost track of my days, that the running back room is in a great spot, including the two freshmen. Look, Baxter and Blue are going to get the most chatter and talk. For good reason this spring. Trey Wisner's had a really good spring. He gets a lot of chatter too. So that doesn't leave a lot of oxygen, right, to be talked about there at the running back position. Texas really likes what they've seen from Christian Clark and Jarrett Gibson this spring. Really likes it.
Good stuff. Now I want to circle back to the spring game for just a second, Bobby. We've had some questions regarding y'all's planned activities for that day, and I'm going to let you promo that for a second.
Yeah, we just talked about it. Victory Lap is a bar right off of West Campus, across from the Castilian, pretty close to the Co-op, if you're familiar with the area as well. I think it's off of 24th or 23rd. I can't remember. But long story short, we'll be there from 11 to 12, then walk over. We're going to have a little pregame. Rod Babers will be there with us. Jerry might have to go and be on some recruiting duty, by the way. So he may be out there chasing some recruits at the time. But we'll all be there, have a little fun, walk over from there to the stadium. That'll be 11 o'clock on Saturday. On Wednesday, next Wednesday, I want to offer this up for people in the Austin area. If you're out and about, come by and stop and join us at the Posse East from 3:30 to about 5:30, 3 to 5:30, something like that at the Posse East. I'm going to get everybody the first beer, not the second or third, but the first beer. Come out and just join us. We'll have a little get-together. Jerry and I will be there. Rod will be there. Blake, I think you have a baseball game going on, so you won't be there. But there's a lot of stuff that y'all can come out and hang out with us. Just join. We kind of want to do this Wednesday one as an appreciation deal for people that are following us in the Austin area because we don't get out and see enough people enough times. So anytime we can kind of join up and hang out, that's a great thing.
Chris Palmer, will the Manning seniors be in attendance at spring game? Really good question.
I would imagine, right?
I would imagine, Eli and Peyton their schedules are pretty packed. I mean, what Eli's got soccer team these days as well. Yeah, we'll see. I'd be surprised if they weren't.
And I'm going to answer Champ Bailey's question. He says, is the line that bad going with my 4-year-old and 8-month-year-old, trying to give them the best experience at least the 4-year-old can have. She loves the Longhorns. My advice is get there early, get in the line early, and that way you can get through it, because Jerry can attest to it. I mean, when I texted him last time,
I couldn't even find Blake.
Yeah, I mean, the line, and I was at the front of the line, and I couldn't even see the back of the line from where I was standing. So I would definitely advise to get there about 45 minutes early at the very minimum to get to the front of that line. So
somebody's mentioned victory lap at 11 a.m. That's the correct time.
Yep. And also somebody asked, are there kids allowed in the victory lap? Do you know that, Bobby?
Ooh, I don't know that. I would imagine they're allowed in as long as they're not drinking, but I don't, because they do serve food, by the way. So I'll have to ask. I'll call the manager and get that news out to everybody tomorrow.
Okay, guys. Before we move on, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell folks out there one more time about Rick Vavro and Austin Underground.
Yeah, absolutely. Our friends Rick Vavro at Austin Underground have been a sponsor of ours now for several months. We appreciate him. Austin Underground is specialized in difficult underground commercial installations since 2004. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often just consider too risky. Rick and his team offer an end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. Rick has an engineering degree from the University of Texas. He's proud of that, and that is his company, Austin Underground. Give him a shout if you have any big projects coming up.
Okay, we want to thank them for sponsoring each and every Thursday right here on Coffee and Football, and we got time for a few more questions, y'all. So let's get to this one from Tyler. He says, could this be the best put-together team in Texas history? Even better than the 05 championship team.
I don't know about that. I think it's the most anticipated season since then, but I don't know. Look, that team was really stout on the defensive line. That's not talked about that much. And the talent on that team that didn't even play, Colt McCoy, Jordan Shipley, Jermichael Finley. I mean, that was the most. Mac had a 4-year run of tremendously loaded rosters. Very experienced offensive line with that group. Obviously, Jamal Charles was a star in the making. Ramonce Taylor. They had now why the wide receiver position as a whole. No offense to the guys that played wide receiver, Brian Carter, Billy Pittman. I mean, it wasn't close to what Texas is going to put out there at wide receiver this year. The speed, when you count VY, look, that was a tremendous. Brian Arakpo's a freshman, right? Think about the young defensive line behind the Tim Crowders and Brian Robison's on that team. The secondary had 4 first-round picks and Terrell Brown. That was a different team.
They were loaded. But there are elements of this, to your point, Jerry, there are elements of this team that you would take over that team.
Yeah.
Okay. But they had a superhuman at quarterback.
Correct.
Too. Quinn is going to be a great college quarterback, really good already. But I'm going to tell you, Vince Young was the best college football player in the country, bar none. So I feel pretty strongly that team is a little bit different. We'll see, though, where this team goes. And look, you never know. Anthony Hill is a difference maker. There are guys on this team that can be that kind of player. We just have to wait and see what happens. I do think this is a good topic, really, for Bob Shipley.
Yeah.
Because Bob, his son Jordan was on that team, although he was injured at that point. He could go up and down that list kind of and say, okay, I think this one's better. This part's little, he could actually judge them from a firsthand perspective, I think. We
had this discussion last year, guys, with Jatavion Sanders. I think David Thomas is the best tight end I've seen play at Texas. Right now, I'm not as old as some guys that are on that are on this chat and comments. They'll be saying, "No, how about this name?" Well, in my lifetime, David Thomas was a tremendous tight end. I mean, tremendous player. So they had so many guys, so many pieces, and they were all experienced pieces. But I really think you look at the D line on that team. What'd you start? Crowder, Ocam, Rod Wright, and Brian Robeson. Then you had backups. I mean, look at the backups on that line, on that defensive line. I mean, that D line was really, really strong. And it mean they were all first round picks. So they may not have had what Clemson had or a couple of those Alabama teams or that Georgia. But as a whole, plus the depth, that D line was really good at all spots.
Oh, there's the list. Blake's bringing it up. Well, where's the defensive line? What do we got here? Defensive ends, Robeson,
Tim Crowder, Brian Arakpo. I mean,
Arakpo was a freshman in that group.
He was a freshman.
And he did play. Derek Loki.
Yeah, because Tim Crowder hurt his knee the week of the national title game, and he couldn't really go full speed in that game. But then you look at the D-line. I mean, Rod Wright, I mean, Frank Ocam, Roy Miller was a backup on that team. I mean, you look at the D-line talent and the DB talent. Linebackers had good, solid college players on it, right? But that D-line and that secondary, the depth of that defensive line was really strong. Keep going down the defensive line, Blake. Okay, Roy Miller. Okay. That defensive line group was really strong at Texas.
Larry Dibble's got a lot of snaps too.
Good player. Solid player. Solid player.
Good stuff. Good question, guys. That's fun to go down. That's fun to go down memory lane there.
I mean, so again, if you go back and look at that, Tony Hills didn't really even play. Rod Mucklewer was a draft pick. Didn't even play on that team. That team had a ton of players that didn't even see the field that year. Now, Jordan Shipley would have been, I think, a starter, but he got hurt and had to miss the season, his true freshman year. But that team was loaded.
All right, our next question is going to come from Jameson Washington, and he says, how is Texas looking when it comes to the biggest problem on offense, the red zone offense? It made me go bald last year.
Well, if it made you go bald and they finished, 12-2, or whatever the final record was, I pity you a little bit there. It was a little hair-raising, though, at times, to be fair. I think that, look, we talked about it all year last year and then into this offseason. And one of the things that Sark said, he acknowledged it, first of all. And they are going to work on it. And they've ended every drill that my understanding, they ended it with just like they did last year. They ended it with a red zone deal between the offense and defense. My understanding is that, part of that's on Quinn, part of that's on play calling. I mean, Quinn's going to have to fit the ball in tighter windows if they're going to be more successful in the red zone.
And for me, the red zone is, I think people have talked about, hey, how many touchdowns for Quinn? What's the number? Here's my answer to that. I hope Quinn throws 28 touchdowns next year. And some people are like, oh, 35. I'm like, yeah. How about 28? Because that means you're running the ball well in the red zone. The least touchdown passes he has means you're running the ball well in the red zone. That's my take on this. So I think as important as throwing the ball for touchdowns in the red zone is how you're running the ball. How are you owning the offensive line up front? Are you running the ball effectively in the red zone? Now, I think that is key one. And then after that, you get to the rest of it. And I think with a more experienced offensive line, I think Texas has got the backs in the red zone. I think they're better. I think they have better red zone backs this year. I could see a Christian Clark being part of that as a red zone as the season moves along. A Jarrett Gibson. I mean, they have two freshmen that are really, really impressive backs between the tackles that can push the pile a little bit. So I think you might be positioned well there. But I think as a whole, just the whole thing in the red zone, I don't think it's on just play calling on coach, but I think I want to see Texas run the ball effectively in the red zone this year. If they do that, Quinn's touchdown numbers can go down and your results are what you want as fans.
All right, guys, we were talking about some of the greats on that 2005 team. So Reggie Matthews says, other than Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams, who is the best running back in Texas history? Then he says, I'm only 30, so I didn't get to see a lot of players before, but he personally thinks it's Jamal Charles. So if you can't pick Earl and you can't pick Ricky, who you got?
If I needed 2 yards, it'd be Cedric Benson. That would be my Cedric Benson. A lot of friends of mine that are a little bit older than me would say Roosevelt Leaks in that category. Look, if I needed 2 yards, it'd be Cedric Benson. If I needed 200 yards in a quarter, it'd be Jamal Charles. that would be my answer. What about you, Jerry? Bijan's a good running back. I don't necessarily think he's different than those two for me. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think let's do it this way. On Sarkisian's team, Cedric Benson. Inside zone, powerful downhill back. I mean, look how many plays.
Man, I don't know. Jamal Charles with him would be unbelievable.
Yeah. But look like how many plays Cedric Benson played in college. I mean, how many snaps? Almost 1,200. I mean, that's incredible. That's endurance. That's toughness. Cedric Benson was a really, really good football player. And I don't know. I'd probably go with Benson in the Texas scheme. But Jamal Charles as a big play guy, it's hard to argue against him. I mean, look, just think about the list we're looking at here. I mean,
Charles is Trey Wisner and Jaden Blue on steroids. That's. I mean, I love those two guys, but I mean Jamal. I mean, literally on getting Jamal in space was unfair.
Yeah,
because he just eliminated every. I mean, so fast, so fast.
Yeah, that's.
Where would you go, Blake? Hey, Blake, you saw them all. You saw all.
Yeah,
where would you go?
I'm kind of torn because the answer to me is either Cedric Benson or Jamal Charles, but it's hard to pick between those two. It's like 3A and 3B, I guess, behind Ricky and Earl, obviously. But I mean, I'd probably slightly lead Charles.
Fair enough.
So, good question. Fun question.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. Okay, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Vavro and Austin Underground. I want to thank them for sponsoring, along with Gooder and Autograph as well. Be sure to head on over to ontexasfootball.com. Bobby, plug being an OTF OG for us.
Yeah, absolutely. If you are unaware, we started a premium part of our website. It's called OTF, and you can be an OG at On Texas Football. Use the coupon code OTFOG. Make sure you apply it, and you get $20 off your subscription. We try to make this as financially prudent as possible. We don't charge as much as other folks, etc. We really want this to be a community where as many people as possible can participate. Instead of $60 a year, it's $40 a year or $5.95 a month, whatever you choose to do. Use the code OTFOG to get the discount. Since you're watching this show either on Twitter, on YouTube, or wherever, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, OTFOG, and go to ontexasfootball.com.
All right. Well, with that, I want to thank all of you for tuning in, for the questions, the super chats. As Bobby said, head on over to ontexasfootball.com to continue this discussion and a lot more. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Ring the bell so you're notified anytime we go live or post a new video. And that way you're covered. You got all your bases covered. You don't miss any news. And for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you tomorrow morning.
Winning drive at